Hi, welcome back. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. We're gonna load the Soiree quilt onto the machine. We're gonna do this in a couple of parts because it is kind of a long process, so y'all don't want to watch all of it. But we're gonna start with um, introducing the longarm machine. This is my longarm quilting machine. The brand is Handy Quilter. It's a Moxie XL, which is a entry level long arm machine. It's great for personal use. If I wanted to do it, I could do this for other people if I wanted to, but it sure does, one of the bigger, fancier machines with more space and all the bells and whistles makes that a lot easier. But I don't see myself being a quilting business. So anyway, we'll do a tour of the Moxie XL later. I'm not a handy quilter, national educator, or an ambassador of any kind, but this is just the machine I have, and I love it. So we'll do a tour of the machine in a later video, just so you can kind of see how that goes. But first, we're going to load the backing, and you saw me in a previous video prepare the backing. It is 70 inches wide by 90 inches long, which is 10 inches bigger than the quilt top itself. That gives me a lot of room to work on the sides, and you'll see later I'll have clamps on here once the whole quilt is loaded, and that extra space gives me room, it gives the machine room to move without running into those clamps. So the first thing we do is we are going to load the bottom edge of the backing onto the back bar. It's called the back bar or the belly bar, some people say. And I'm using a little system called red snappers. Traditionally, to load your quilt, these are called leaders. These cloth panels here that are rolled up on the bar are called leaders. And traditionally, what we use are corsage pins, like the real thing that you used for your prom corsage, right? And they work. Pins are great. However, they are painful. I will tell you right now, they are painful. And I have actually bled on my leader. So I decided later on, we've had this machine for about a year now, coming up in July. And I bought the red snapper system. There's also some others that use magnets, but the red snapper system is just a series of rods like this that go through. There's kind of a pocket hem here on these leaders, and you insert the rod inside of the leader pocket. And then there's some clamps that you put on, you'll see in a minute. These are just little mini clamps that help hold the backing in place while we get ready to use the clamps. And they're flexible like this. And all you do is, I'm going to slide this clamp over. Oh, and the first thing you have to do is mark your center on the bottom and the top of your backing and match it up. I've marked the centers on my leaders right here. That's what that mark is. This was the first one, but this is more even, I discovered later. So you put this clamp on like this, and it just snaps right onto that rod inside the pocket. So much easier and so much faster. And so much less painful. Snap it on like that, and I'll come over and I'll take my little mini off and snap this on like that. Of course, this would be a little finicky while I was trying to film. And this accommodates my frame. My long arm frame is a 10-foot frame. They come in 12 and even 14 foot, 12 foot and 14 foot lengths. I probably on this frame could do a king size quilt, but it would be cutting it close. Okay, so there's the the bottom edge of the backing. And what I'm going to do now is load the top edge of the backing, and we're going to reset, and we'll be right back. Okay, we've loaded both ends of the backing, and now I need to roll it up so I can get it all back this way. So what I'm doing as I go along is I keep smoothing it out to make sure all the edges stay even and lay flat. My big roll of batting under here is kind of getting in the way, but that's the best place to put that. And if you'll notice, we talked about, I had to put a seam in the backing the other day in that video. I had to put a seam in the backing. It is not straight down the middle because I didn't, both of these panels are not the same width, which is fine. So that's why this seam over here is not even with that line. I used a full 45-inch width of fabric and then added on what I needed, the other 30 or so inches that I added on. So this is what we're doing now. I will roll this up until it is all the way up, and it'll probably, once this pulls up and tight, then we'll be ready to start setting up the batting. So be right back. Okay, so the backing is all loaded. Now we are loading the batting, which is the inside of the quilt. The definition of a quilt is 3 layers consisting of the backing fabric, the batting, and the top. That is the definition of a quilt. Whenever I have entered a quilt in any fair, show, whatever, that's the definition. It's not a blanket, and a blanket is not a quilt. Just so you know. So, what we do, again, I've cut this piece of batting the width of my backing. It's bigger than my quilt top. I have marked the center, and I'm going to load it underneath my top bar, like so. And then we will line it up with the center on the back bar here. All right. So now, and my backing is even bigger than my batting. So, and because I did cut it bigger than the 70 inches, which is going to be great. Gives us lots of play. And you have to make sure that threads don't stick to the batting because they might show through the top of the quilt. But that's the backing. We've loaded the backing, the batting, and now in the next video you'll see me run a basting line across the top of this batting to give us a nice straight line to line up the top with. And then we'll baste the top down and get ready to choose a pattern and get it quilted. See you later.